So, Commandos Origins is here, and I've been waiting a little while for this one. I remember playing the gameplay demo, and I wasn't the biggest fan of that. It didn't feel totally polished, but we now have the full release of the game, and we're going to be checking out if I believe it's worth buying. We are going to be reviewing this game, and I'm going to say straight away, there are flaws with it. It's nowhere near a perfect game. This is obviously a full release, there's no early access or anything like that. The good thing is, if you have an Xbox Game Pass Ultimate subscription, you are able to play through that, so you don't actually have to buy the game. And what you do in Commandos Origins is you take the control of a couple of characters, and you work your way through different German bases, doing a bunch of different objectives. You're going to have main objectives to take on, as well as some optional. And I'm going to say by far the best thing in this game is the level design. The different parts of the world the game takes you to, the way they've been set up. I think the level design is by far the best. They've put a lot of time and effort into creating the different levels. They give you a couple of different routes to get to your objective. There are plenty of bushes to take cover in, because this game is a strategy game that requires you to be stealthy. You're going to spend way more time laying on the floor, crawling along the floor, than you are standing up running around. If you get caught in this game by a guard, a lot of the time you are going to die. They are incredibly aggressive, so you do need to be patient with this one. Some levels will take you upwards of an hour and a half to 2 hours for completion, depending on how much of it you want to do. There are main objectives, there are optional objectives, and playing this one, I wanted to get my hands on the full experience, playing the optional, completing the optional objectives as well as the mains. And I like what they've done with the objectives. In one of the levels, you get to destroy a full-on aeroplane. In another one, you get to take down some machine gun nests. You get to destroy water supplies, so on and so forth. This game is you and your team against a full-on Nazi army. You've got to go after these Germans. You've got to attack them aggressively, but patiently and stealthy at the same time. You have a couple of options for how to take down enemies in this game if you're not using weapons. Towards the start of the game, you're not going to have many options for weapons anyway. And when it comes to the melee combat, you can do non-lethal or lethal. And I mean, it's good to do some non-lethal to just basically knock enemies out. However, they are going to wake up and they will alert everyone. So you need to be able to give yourself enough time to knock out an enemy, drag them over to a bush to hide them, and that way they're not going to wake up. So I found myself just not bothering with the non-lethal. It might be a little bit quieter, but when you are playing lethal, you're killing the enemies, there's no chance of them waking up and alerting everyone. So it was just easier to never do non-lethal. And I really like what they've done with the objectives in this game. You are often, the main objectives, you're often going to find yourself having to make your way into the heart of a camp. You will also have to make your way to the back of the map, so the complete opposite side to where you start. And they've created enough different paths and things like that, so you can play this game with a multitude of options as to how you approach it. You can try and go in loud, you can play really stealthy, you can split your team up and have one member of the team go one way, one go another. What I found myself doing in this game is I basically only controlled the sapper really. Until I got my hands on the sniper, then it was the sniper. The Green Beret I didn't use all that often. And the Green Beret is supposed to be the main character. The reason for it is because the sapper is really easy to get on with. You have a whistle, you get explosives, you've got grenades and things. And I mean, you can pick up grenades with the Green Beret, but you've got to find them on the map first. And then with the sniper, you've got a silent sniper. It can take out 2 people with 1 bullet. And then you can lure the enemies with the bullets, with the shells of the bullets you fired, on top of also being able to use a pistol, which is almost the only function the Green Beret really has. I think the one main advantage the Green Beret's got is if there is a dodgy looking wall, a cracked sort of wall, they can climb it. Or if there's an icy wall or something. The other characters can't do that. So each character has its advantages and disadvantages, but I barely spent any time with the Green Beret unless I absolutely had to. And while the game takes you to some really nice levels all across the world, while it's got its stealth mechanics, it's got its decent gameplay, there are issues with this game. It is nowhere near a perfect game. For a start, they recommend you use a specific control scheme. And what that is is you have to use the arrow keys on your keyboard, like if you're playing keyboard mouse, arrow keys for the camera movement, WASD for vehicle driving. And I started the game with that control scheme. The developers have recommended you use it. But what happened to me was trying to move straight up or straight down with the camera using the directional arrows doesn't work. In order to move up or down, I had to go diagonal, up and down, then left and right. Moving straight up and down did not work. Luckily, WASD did work. So W worked for going forward with the camera, S worked for going backwards. For some reason, the recommended control scheme doesn't work. Those directional arrows on your keyboard do not actually let you move back and forward. You can move side to side and you can move diagonal back and forward, but you cannot move straight forward or straight back. So that was the first issue. And then having it on WASD, playing more of the game, having to set my camera to very specific angles to either see enemies or find doors on buildings or locate ladders. Turning that camera around and doing all of the rotation holding down Alt was incredibly laggy. Cutscenes in this game jolt all over the place. The main part of the gameplay is rather smooth, but there are some things in the game that should be smooth and they're not. So there are some slight performance issues. I never faced any crashes or anything like that, so we're good on that front. But they need to polish up the performance. Turning your camera around, cutscenes and stuff, they should not be dropping frames. At times, I thought the game was going to crash or it was going to at least lock up from how bad the frames dropped when rotating that camera. And then we have the AI themselves. They're not the best in the world. I mean, they do kind of stick to Commandos as a series. You can almost get right up in an enemy's face, and as long as that cone of vision doesn't spot you, you're good. And sometimes when an enemy is directly in front of another one, they just won't see the other enemy. Like when you kill them, they won't know there's a dead body there, even when they're about 4 foot apart. Then when an alarm is sounded, the AI become incredibly aggressive. They will hunt you down. They will look through bushes to try and find you. You can just stab them. Like obviously if they're on their own, you can stab them, kill them. You're going to be good. However, what I noticed was the enemies don't like going to rooftops for some reason. Every now and then on certain rooftops they will. But for an example, in this mission, like the one you're seeing the gameplay of, there is a tower that had a grenade and some sniper ammo on top of it. The AI, regardless of how many times I set that alarm off, they would not climb to the top of the tower to look for me. They would go everywhere else, they would not climb to the top of the tower. And earlier in the mission, I laid on a rooftop and they would not come up the ladder. And it's quite funny when they do find a building that they want to climb to the top of, because you can just lay there on the roof, you can get out your pistol, and you can kill them as they're coming up the ladder. So the AI does have some sort of, I'm going to say they're pathing issues. Some buildings they will go to the roof, others they just won't bother. And I also had it from time to time where the AI would set off the alarms when there was no reason to. Because another thing that happens in this game is if you kill an enemy, leave their body there, don't hide it or anything. If an enemy walks over and they notice that body, they will sound the alarm. And I mean, that typically happens until that body's been found once, and then if someone else comes across it, they will just ignore it. But sometimes with no enemies in sight, I would just get the yellowy, orangey sort of question mark above their head. They would sound the alarm for absolutely no reason. So the game does have some issues. It does have some flaws. And one of the biggest things you need to do in this game is you need to rely on that save feature. I like how efficient the saving feature is. All you do is press F5, and I mean, it does kind of break the immersion a little bit with the saving, because it kind of puts a blur over your screen. You get this little timer, then it brings you back to the gameplay. But if you get spotted and you know that's game over, just press F8 and it instantly loads your latest save. And I mean, you are going to have to save very, very often. In fact, there is a timer at the top of the screen that tells you how long it's been since your last save. They have built this game around making sure that you save it very, very often. And it's good that they've done that, because when I first started playing, I wasn't really on top of the saving. I played for about 10-15 minutes. I ended up dying. I went all the way back to the start of the first mission. Like the tutorial introduction mission, I was so close to breaking out of the prison for the first segment of that mission. I died all the way back to the fucking start. I was so frustrated and almost gave up with the game. but I'm glad I didn't, because I carried on and I had a lot of fun through this one. And one thing I wish they kind of kept in the game from previous Commandos, there is no inventory system in this game at all, which is a very, very weird decision. I kind of liked it, but I kind of didn't, because it made sure that you was being stealthy, because in old Commandos games you could take a disguise and it could help you with your stealth gameplay. You could pick up weapons, like you could take ammo, and that would help you with progression through the missions. And in this game, you cannot search any soldiers, you can't take outfits like uniforms, you have to go to set locations on each of the levels and find ammo that way. I mean, that's ammo for the sniper. It also works the same for grenades. You have to find grenades. They have a feature, if you press tab on the keyboard, it highlights all enemies red, it highlights all doors and things yellow, and I mean, it gives you x-ray vision. That's another problem I found with the game and its camera thing. What you can do is you can essentially move the camera up and down to different floors, and there's also a button that will remove like ceilings so you can see inside buildings. And for some reason, going down to the bottom floor on a certain, like it's the level you're seeing the gameplay for, going to the bottom floor on this level, it just showed like the inside of the room, and you would see shadows for feet. You wouldn't see any enemies, you wouldn't see any textures, tables, furniture or anything like that. It was a very, very weird thing. But another thing I like in the game, when it works, because it is known to be a little bit iffy, is if you press shift on your keyboard, there is a feature that will let you set up commands, and then if you press enter, your different team members can pull off those commands at the same time, instead of you having to control them individually. So on the very first level, you've got the green beret, you've got the sapper, there's two enemies standing there having a chin wag. You can go into this command mode, press shift on your keyboard, you can get the green beret to take out one, the sapper to take out the other. You press shift, come out of it, you press enter to execute that command. They're both going to take the enemies down at the same time. However, sometimes one of your characters just, I don't know why, just won't stab the enemy, so every now and then it can bug. But then if you're on top of the saving, save just before any sort of combat and you should be okay. If you use that save feature often, this game becomes a lot easier. I mean, like, the difficulty could almost be all put down to that save feature and how often you use it. So overall, to wrap this one up, is it worth buying Commandos Origins? I'm going to say yes, but definitely not at the price they are asking for it. I enjoyed this game. It's a very decent game. It does have its issues, but pretty much what game doesn't nowadays? So many games come out, they're complete jank, they're missing features, so on and so forth. This game is a good time. If you like stealth gameplay, if you like strategy, it's a very decent game. But they are asking, outside of Game Pass, because obviously if you have the subscription, go download it, it's free. Outside of Game Pass, they are wanting 45 quid for this game. I'm going to say this is worth about 25-30 quid. I think it's far too expensive for its base price, like if you're buying it on Steam for an example. So I think yes, it is worth buying Commandos Origins, but maybe wait for a little bit of a sale on this one. I would not personally go grabbing it at its full price. It's a good game, but I think it's far too expensive. And that is my opinion, my thoughts on Commandos Origins, and we are going to leave that video there. Let me know your thoughts and stuff about this game in the comments, and I'll see you guys in the next one. I hope you enjoyed it.